Hello friends, once again welcome to bisptrainings.com. My name is Amit and in today's activity number 10, I'm going to show you how to perform stripping mapping. And therefore the best way of learning is to look at the requirement directly and start understanding it. So in my requirement, this is my source file, data source file which I'm going to load into my planning application. Now if you look at carefully, let me explain you what is what in this source file. So this first is my account dimension. I just already logged into my planning application and I go to dimension and show you what is what. So field number 1 is my account dimension, and this file 1110 underscore SL01, this is basically a source ID. So in my source file, these are my account dimension, get mapped to account dimension, and the last 4 character is my source ID. The logic behind this, I'm getting data from multiple sources, and therefore what the ETL team does, they append the source ID, right, from wherever data source data is coming. So in this case, I'm getting source from two source ID S01 and S02, and remaining my other dimension remains same. So what I want to do is I want to eliminate the last 4 character. So before mapping, it is like this. This source is going to map. Post mapping, I would like to eliminate as underscore S01. So this is going to be my source, and my finally it is going to be target. This is source and this is target. And I did a very basic mapping logic over here to map this because I want to eliminate last 4 character, and therefore in a source you can specify in a data load mapping asterisk and 4 question mark. This is your source, and your target is continued to be asterisk. So 4 question mark would be automatically ignored, right? So with this basic logic, let's go ahead and design. Now make a note of this. Although there are 2 records into my source data file, but finally they are going to add up into my single account dimension, eliminating last 4 characters, right? Now let's see how to do this. So first field is your account dimension, which maps to your account dimension. This is basically my cash flow. So under my all accounts, I can see balance sheet, total assets, current assets, and my cash flow, right? This is going to map with the cash flow and other elements like marketable security, and there are other account dimension member, account receivable, other receivable, allowance for bad debt and all, isn't it? So first one is your account dimension. Second one maps to my entity dimension. In order to make it simple to understand, I have taken a subset of my entire data source file, and this one is mapping to 110 is my entity dimension mapping to facility resources. So before you actually map it in your FDME, you can make a note over here. This is entity. First one is account, second one is entity. Third one is your product dimension, P underscore 000. It's basically no product. So when you go to products, you can find over here there's a member called P underscore 000, which is no product. So I just mention over here, this one is basically a no product. Product dimension. Next one is your working. Working is basically a version dimension in my case. Working is your version, right? So I map it to version. You can also apply a basic logic over here. You can count the number of dimension in your source. So I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dimension. Total dimension are 7, right? And in 7 dimension, other 3 dimension defined in the point of view, like your period, your year, and your scenario as part of your point of view, which you define under FDQM. So our total dimension are 7 dimensions, and out of this you eliminate 3 dimensions, so remaining dimension are 3 in my source. Therefore in my source file you should have at least 4 dimension. 7 minus 3, 4 dimension in your source file, plus one data value. So I can count it over here: 1, 2, 3, 4 dimension and one data value. So this is a simple way you can ensure that your mapping is correct. Okay. Now with this basic information about our source file, we are ready to build our mapping. Go to your financial data quality management, go to administration. Under data management, there are two tabs as we discussed in the previous sessions, and therefore I'm directly going to take you how to perform mapping. So as of now in my target system, I don't have planning application. I configure the target application, click on plus, and these are the supported application type we have. I select planning application. It takes few seconds to populate a list of planning application. We are using a vision application as of now. Take a vision application and define the mapping. I'll go by default mapping. You see entity maps to entity, in a staging version maps to account, and entity maps to account and entity. In a staging table, remaining all the dimensions mapped to user defined properties, user defined dimension, user defined 1, user defined 2, and scenario, year and period are going to define as part of your point of view. Right, so you go along with this, save it, and then you define the application setting. Make sure the folder is defined. Under application setting, you should point to the folder where your application log file, inbox, outbox, and data file would be stored. You can copy and paste this path. Okay. Then define my source is already defined, is a flat file, and target is my vision application. Next tab, we define import profile, which is a part of this important part of it, where we define how data is going to land up in our staging tables. Right. So click on new, add, name it. I'm going to call it vision load, and source is your ERP, which is your flat file with a delimiter, comma delimiter in our source, and target is your vision application. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Vision application, flat file. This is my flat file with comma delimiter. Right. Now we define mapping. What is what? Is a straightforward mapping. First one is your account dimension. So I define account, field number 1. Second one is your entity. So this is my entity, field number 2. Make sure it is spelled correctly, field number 2. Product is field number 3. Product is field number 3. And working is your version, which is field number 4, which is your working, field number 4. And this is version. And finally is your amount, which is field number 5. So we did a straightforward mapping over here. Done. And next step, after import profile, we define the location. So there is no new location exists. I click on plus green symbol and create a new location. I'm going to name it as vision load to my vision application. Define import profile, the one we just now created, right? And your target application, vision application. I'm going by the default parameter as of now and save it. Next step, you define period. In this example, period is already configured. I'm going to load data for January Q1 FY15. Just make sure that respective period exists. Period is January. It is over here. Q1, which is Q1. January Q1, and year is FY15. FY15, right? That's it. Save it, and you are done. After you do the period mapping, do a category mapping, which is nothing your scenario dimension. It is already mapped over here. Actual maps to actual, and the frequency is monthly. You could have make it quarterly, weekly, daily, yearly. Often data come from ERP on monthly basis. It is not mandatory. And forecast could be quarterly. Right? So it depends upon your requirement. You can map the scenario dimension over here. This is done. And next step, we go to workflow and define data mapping, which is one of the most important aspect of your mapping. Change your location as vision load, and period is, I'm sorry, I should define it. Vision is location vision load. I'm loading for time dimension. Period is January, category actual, and source is my flat file, and target is my vision planning application. Done. Let's do one-to-one mapping now. This is the important point of in account dimension. I go to in like mapping, sorry, click on add, and I want to ignore last four characters, right? So last four character. So this expression I can use it, star and four character maps to star only. So automatically last four character would be ignored. You can define a mapping name, stripping, name a mapping name stripping over here. Then do the same thing for entity. Entity and all these are explicit mapping. It's a one-to-one mapping. So my entity is 111 is a straightforward mapping. 110 map to 110 map to 110. You can also locate the mapping if you're not sure about it. You can refresh metadata online and make sure your target application member is exist. In this case, it fall under total entity TD and 110. This is called facility resources. The alias name is okay. Save it and then map it for product. Product is also straightforward mapping. We have data for only one product. So source and target is same. I could have used a star as well. Okay, there are multiple ways. And finally your version. Version is also straightforward mapping. Working version maps to working version. Save it. That's it. Your all mappings are done. Then you go to data load rule file and execute data load rule. Click on add. Name it vision load. The source, I'm going to use a category actual. We have an option called actual and budget. However, I'm going to use as actual as a source category, and target is going to be plan one application. Point your import profile, select your source file. It's under my vision application. Planning load stripping source ID. Planning load stripping source ID. That's it. And save it. And finally you execute this and we'll check all the mappings are done correctly. So I'm import from source and loading to target for the month of January, and you can use append and replace. I'm going to use a replace option now. Click run, and every activity in FDM has a process ID. This is a process ID 226 and extract ID is given over here. It takes few seconds to load metadata, load data to staging and finally into target application. So as you see over here, the right green mark shows the data load rule went successfully and data load is done. We can go to data load workbench and check, validate this and ensure everything is done correctly. So I could see over here, look at carefully the fish color. Had it been gray color, it means the task is not done successful. You can move your mouse cursor and see import done successful, validate done successful, export also done successful. Also look at this point of view, source and target mapping. Source entity is 110, target entity 110. Source amount is 110_012. You see last four character has been eliminated automatically and it is mapping to 110, 1150, 1210 and so on. Version is straightforward mapping. Version maps to version from source to target, and product also straightforward mapping. Because for same dimension, same member, I loaded multiple records. So output when I look at this, it would be cumulative value aggregated from multiple rows. Let's check it. The easy way of checking it, you can log into your smart view. You can create a planning data form and validate from there as well. Alternatively, you can log into Space and invoke a ad hoc analysis and point to the same intersection which you see over here. Right. So in this example, my year is FY15, period is January. I can see year, January period, year is FY15, category is actual, and account is 110. For the sake of simplicity, I take one account. Version is actual, sorry, scenario is actual, and version is working version. Isn't it? It's given over here. Version is working version. Entity is 110 and product is, I use one product, P000, right? This is your entity, this is your product, this is the intersection. I refresh it and see. you see it is 2040. Why? Because I have got two records in my source. There are two records in my source, right? When I run them and store into common target, they get aggregated automatically. So with this, I can validate my data got loaded successfully for one dimension member cache. In the same fashion, you can check for other member as well, isn't it? So this is how you can apply wildcard character at asterisk and question mark and change your mapping criteria. In this example, as we eliminated last four character, use the same you can do for eliminate character from initial part of your account dimension as well. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching today's videos. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and access more videos. You can also write to us www.bisptrainings.com or bispsolutions.com. You can post me your question if you have any. And thanks for watching today's video.